There are a couple of different kinds of couples who go to Budapest. The first kind follows the standard itinerary. Thermal baths in the morning, ruin bar at night. Great market hall for a quick walkthrough, back to the hotel exhausted. They come home saying, oh, Budapest was interesting, it was fine, it was worth seeing maybe. The second kind slows down. They eat in the right places. They find the evenings that actually feel like something. They leave saying it was one of the best trips of their lives, and they're planning to go back again. Today, I'm going to make sure you're in that second group. See, Budapest is one of those cities that rewards the couples who approach it with a little intention. The grand architecture, the Danube at night, the food scene that most Western travelers haven't caught up to yet. It's all there. It's genuinely amazing. But here's the thing. The standard tourist circuit is designed to move you through Budapest quickly, not to help you actually experience it. The ruin bars are famous. The thermal baths are on every list. The chain bridge photo is basically mandatory at this point. None of that's wrong, but none of it is the whole picture either. My job today is to give you the version that goes deeper, the culture that actually moves you, the restaurants that are worth your time, and the evenings that feel genuinely special rather than just checked off a list. That's what doing Budapest right actually looks like. Now, let's start with the culture conversation, because this is where most itineraries get it wrong. The typical Budapest culture checklist looks like this. Fisherman's Bastion for photos, a quick walk across the chain bridge, maybe a glance at the Parliament building from the riverbank. And those things are all visually impressive. I'm not dismissing them. But here's what those travel sites don't tell you. The culture experiences that stay with you in Budapest are almost never the ones on that list. The Great Synagogue of Dohány Street is the largest synagogue in Europe. Most couples walk past it as a photo stop. The ones who go inside, who spend an hour actually inside, come out quieter than they went in. The memorial garden behind it, the Tree of Life sculpture, the weight of the history there. That's the kind of cultural encounter that changes the shape of a trip. The Hungary State Opera House is another one. Here's what nobody in the travel industry says out loud. You don't need to book a full opera to experience it. The building itself runs affordable guided tours that take you into the grand staircase, the gilded auditorium, the royal box. For couples who appreciate architecture and history, it's one of the most beautiful interiors in Central Europe, and almost nobody suggests it. My honest advice, build your culture time around depth rather than volume. 2 to 3 experiences you're fully present for will define the trip. 10 check boxes won't. Here's the frame I want you to hold for all of Budapest. This city has been through extraordinary things. The architecture, the food, the way people move through their evenings, it all carries that history. The couples who feel Budapest are the ones paying attention to that layer. The ones who miss it are moving too fast to notice. We need to talk about the baths, because they're on every list, every itinerary, every 48 hours of Budapest article that's ever been written. And most of the advice around them is incomplete. There are over 30 thermal bath complexes in Budapest. Most visitors go to Széchenyi or Rudas because those are the ones that get mentioned. And both are genuinely worth visiting. But here's what those sites don't tell you. The experience varies enormously depending upon when you go and which facility you choose. Széchenyi is spectacular. The yellow neo-Baroque exterior in City Park, the outdoor pools, the grand interior. But on a Saturday afternoon in peak season, it's crowded in a way that fundamentally changes the experience. It stops feeling like a thermal bath and starts feeling like a very elaborate water park. My honest advice to couples, go early on a weekday morning. Széchenyi before 10 a.m. is a completely different place. Quieter, slower, the steam rising off the outdoor pools in the morning light. That's the version worth having. Or consider the Lugas baths instead. It doesn't photograph as dramatically and it won't appear in the same number of Instagram posts, but it's where the locals actually go. The atmosphere is calmer, the crowds are thinner, and the experience feels more like what a thermal bath is actually supposed to feel like. The difference has almost nothing to do with the water. It has everything to do with who you're sharing it with. Let's talk about food, because Budapest has become one of the most underrated food scenes in Europe. And most couples leave having eaten mediocre versions of goulash in places designed for tourist turnover. Here's what those travel sites don't tell you. Hungarian cuisine, done properly, is amazing, mouth-wateringly amazing. It's rich, complex, deeply regional, and almost nothing like what you'll find in the tourist-facing restaurants around the chain bridge and the main market. A few honest picks. Borgonya, a Michelin-starred wine kitchen in the Jewish Quarter. The food is modern Hungarian, seasonal, precise, confident. The wine list is built around Hungarian varietals, most of which you'll never encounter outside of the country. For couples who appreciate serious food and wine, this is the dinner worth planning the evening around. Book ahead. Rosenstein. Unpretentious, family-run, a short walk from the main tourist zone. This is Jewish Hungarian cooking that's been done the same way for decades. The stuffed cabbage, the chicken paprikash. This is the food Budapest is actually built on. It fills up with locals on weekday evenings. That tells you everything you need to know. The Great Market Hall, done right. Most couples do a quick walkthrough and leave. My honest advice, go in the morning before the tour buses arrive. Go upstairs to the mezzanine level and eat at one of the small food stalls. A bowl of goulash and a glass of tokaji at 10 a.m. in that building, watching the market below, that's a Budapest moment. Now, what to skip? Any restaurant with a menu translated into 6 languages displayed in a laminated frame outside. That's a reliable signal that you're about to pay tourist prices for a tourist version of Hungarian food. The couples who eat well in Budapest are the ones willing to walk 5 minutes further than the obvious choice. That's genuinely all it takes. The city rewards the small effort every time. The evening conversation is where I want to push back the hardest on this standard advice. Every Budapest guide leads with the ruined bars. Think Glacier, the original, the one that spawned 100 imitators. It's famous, it's photogenic, and it's genuinely worth seeing once for one drink. As a cultural artifact, it's amazing. As a centerpiece of your Budapest evening, it's loud, crowded, and designed for travelers in their 20s. Here's what those sites don't tell you. Budapest has one of the best wine bar scenes in Central Europe, and almost no one outside Hungary knows it yet. That gap is your advantage. The 7th district, the Jewish Quarter, has a layer of quieter wine bars that sit just off the main ruined bar circuit. Small rooms, Hungarian natural wines, locals who actually live in the neighborhood. These are the evenings that feel like something. The evenings where you stay 2 hours longer than you planned because the conversation and the wine and the room, they're just exactly right. My honest advice, let the ruined bar be your first stop, not your whole evening. Walk in, have a drink, take it in as a cultural spectacle it is, and then leave and find a wine bar 2 streets over. That second part of the evening is the one you'll remember. For something more structured, a Danube river cruise at dusk with Parliament lit up on the water is genuinely one of the most beautiful things Budapest offers. Not because it's on every list, because it is actually amazing. The private dinner cruises are worth upgrades for couples. That version of the Danube is one that earns the photograph. Now here's a walking route that I would do without hesitation. Start on the Pest side at the Great Market Hall in the morning. Walk north along the river toward the chain bridge, the Danube on your left, the grand facades of the city on your right. Cross the bridge into Buda. Take the funicular up to the Castle District if your knees aren't happy. Walk the steep path if they are. Spend an hour in the Castle District not doing the museums, just walking the streets. The cobblestones, the views back over Pest, the quiet that sits over the neighborhood in the middle of the day. Fisherman's Bastion for the photograph. Matthias Church, actually go inside. Come back down to Pest in the afternoon. Walk into the Jewish Quarter. Find the great synagogue. Spend some real time there. Walk the neighborhood after. Kaczynski Street, the street around it. This is one of the most textured and alive neighborhoods in the city. End the evening in the 7th district with dinner and wine. The whole route is manageable in a day if you're not rushing, and you should not be rushing. That's kind of the point. Budapest rewards the couples who move through it slowly, who eat in the right places, who let the evenings unfold rather than scheduling every hour. The couples who get that right come back saying it changed something in the way they think about travel. That's the version I want for you. If you're building a longer Central Europe itinerary and you want to know what else is worth your time and what isn't, I got more honest travel guides right here on this channel. And if you want travel advice made specifically for empty nesters, no highlight reels, no sponsored cakes, just the real version, hit that subscribe button, because that's what we do here. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.